Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today's going to be a little bit shorter of a video, but we're going to go over display and graphic settings. And I've seen a lot of these, and a lot of them have how to get the lowest FPS and whatever they want to do, but this isn't really the point of the game, is to have the lowest ever FPS. It's not really the point. As long as you get enough FPS to run at your refresh rate of your monitor, whether it's 60, 144, or 240, whatever you have, as long as you get to that rate. Beyond that, it doesn't really matter. You always want it as high as possible, but sometimes it sacrifices the overall latency of the game, the overall looks of the game, and it actually affects your performance in game. So I have finally found a perfect graphics setting, at least for my computer, and we can tweak it to your computer, and I'll teach you guys how to and whatnot in this video. So we're going to go over everything from display to graphic settings, and I'm going to give reasons why I do it. So this is like the ultimate guide for competitive play and for visibility, because a lot of the time having anti-aliasing off or on TA or whatever you do, it creates blur. So I have a way to make it not blur, and it still runs at a perfect frame rate. Other than at the end of the day, the first thing you want to look at, always make sure your resolution's high, obviously, and your monitor's checked in, but you want this thing to be at whatever the max hertz is on your monitor. Now, say your monitor is 60 FPS or says 60 FPS, but it's really 144 FPS, go to your Windows settings, check your display, and bump it up, because at default it'll put it at 60. I played for like 6 months on my 144 hertz monitor at 60 FPS or 60 hertz because I did not know. So that made a huge difference. Just make sure that is checked always at the highest as it can go. Next, we move down to aspect ratio. A lot of people like to roll 4:3. I see 4:3, 16:10, and 16:9 used the most. 16:9 is standard. Beyond that, you don't want to go up this way. If anything, you're always going this way. I personally recommend 16:10 because it gives you the effects of 4:3 without looking awful. As for VSync, I turn that off all the time. You always want to turn this off. It is known to add a little bit of latency lag, which you don't want that. That's the time it gets from the screen to your eyes. So basically that delays how fast your reaction time is, which is not a good thing in FPS shooters like this one, where every little millisecond counts. And field of view, we're gonna get into graphs soon, but anything above, I believe 80 is probably good for you if you're on a PC. Of course, this is for PC, so I just prefer 90 because I want to see the whole screen. I want to see everything, and I want to be at the greatest advantage I can be in game. Obviously, if you don't like the looks of it, just bump it down a little bit. I feel like 85 and up you'll get away with. Shooting on over to graphic settings. Overall, I mean, you could just start at the preset low or whatever, but texture quality, here's one where I always set to low, because low and very high, they don't look that different in my opinion as a texture, because it's just textures at the end of the day, and it doesn't have that much effect on your actual graphics card and FPS. So medium, very high, whatever you do, the FPS won't change that much. I just put it at low to max out my FPS, and it really has no difference. It's probably just a few frames, but for me, every frame, I'm right at the verge of like 150 frame is where I'm at. So I don't like it to drop suddenly or shoot up, but I just don't want it to fluctuate a lot. So I keep it at low. As for texture filtering, you might see this as a different setting in most games, but this is to avoid blurry effects. So it'll make long distant textures less blurry. So, I mean, it costs maybe a few FPS to make it up to 16x. I don't know what that is, but a linear to 16x, we're going up, and I see a huge difference in this. Just go in game and test this. Go linear, then 16x, and compare long range textures, and it'll make a huge difference for you, and you're gonna see that. And I recommend 16x if you have I would do this even if you have a bad PC. LOD, I have this at ultra. This is a big mistake. When the people that just go low on everything, that is a big mistake, because this needs to be at least high or above. It doesn't have a huge effect on your FPS either. It can cost a lot FPS wise if you're in a very like situational thing, but it won't like destroy your FPS, and that's why I have it at ultra, because if it is on low, it could make the players look like really geometric, I guess, and it makes the heads maybe triangles. I just really don't want that, so I keep it as max as I can. It just needs to stay above medium. Just keep it above medium. If you have a low PC, keep it at medium, and if you have a good PC, I just would go ultra or very high. Either of those works, but I would keep it between medium and ultra. Never put this one at low. Shading quality, this is all for your eyeballs really. So low if you have a bad PC, medium if you're just trying to stay around 144. I have a pretty decent PC. I have a RX 580 and a 1700X processor, so my computer can handle this game at 200 plus FPS if I put it all at low. So I just try to keep it around 150. So I keep this at medium, and it's just for eye candy really. It's just to make the game look better. So whatever. If you have a low-end PC, put it at low. Medium, high-end, super high-end, just put it at high. So shadows, low is when player shadows aren't even a thing, so I would go medium here. Medium shows player shadows, low will not show those shadows. So it's actually like a physical advantage that you have by going on medium. It does cost a lot of FPS, so I don't go any higher, so because it just makes it like a perfect outline if you go on very high, and that's very CPU intensive. So I stick with medium, which is the bare minimum just to see some shadows. And going down to reflection quality, I go on low. It doesn't look that costly in terms of FPS, as I've seen on some forums, and that's all I base this off of. And I just don't see any advantage of putting this on high. This is all this is just like reflection in water and stuff like that, so like window reflection, so it's really no advantage to you in a game sense. So just keep that on low. And this is a very important setting here, ambient occlusion. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce that, but keep that off. No matter what you do, just keep this off. This is very costly to your FPS and very useless. It adds shadows to literally like a teapot or something on the table. It really doesn't help you at all, and it might even hurt you in some cases. So if you really just are in it for the eye candy and only want like 60 frames and have a high-end PC, then turn it up, see what's up, and you're gonna get reflections on everything. But I would leave that off for the average PC and the average player that is going for competitive. Lens effects, I keep this off, but you could bring it up if you want to. It'll be easier to see like Valkyrie cams and drones whenever they're being used especially, but it adds a little bit of a glow effect, and that's what I don't really like, so that's why I keep it off. But if you have a higher end PC and like the setting, go ahead and turn it up. But I personally do not see this as being a useful effect even in the game, and that's where I keep this at. In the next two, they're a little bit questionable. Zoom in depth of field. So this makes the ACOG blurry, and I turn it on. Now, it's not the actual ACOG sight, it's the little circle around the ACOG that makes it blurry if you turn this on. And for me, if it's off, I just can't focus. Like, I focus on everything outside of my aim. Well, and if it's on, I focus right in the middle, and I just play better with it on. So I don't know, this is something that basically it has very little effect on your FPS. It might have a little bit on video memory, as you could see when we switch through, but if you can handle it, try it out, see if you like it. It's changed my game a lot. I had it off, I had everything on low before. These settings can make a difference, let me tell you. In this one, anti-aliasing might be the biggest of them all. Everyone that you see in competitive, they'll say, turn it off. Turn it off or turn it on TAA. Now the problem with TAA is even if you shoot it up to 100, which is good, it's probably the best for your FPS, it's still blurry. These two are still blurry in a sense. FXAA is the old one, gets the most hate because it's just a older way of anti-aliasing, but it's the best way. It's still the best way, and it's the least blurry way. So if you can't deal with those jagged lines like I can't with it off, I miss people because it's so jaggy. You don't know what anti-aliasing is. It removes the jagginess and pixels on the screen, as that's all really games are. It's just pixels, but it combines them together and makes a one frame. It just makes everything look smooth basically, and FXAA does this the best without creating any blur in this game. So I would, if you're gonna do anti-aliasing, I would do FXAA. But that's all, that's everything. This is a shorter one. I usually do longer tips, but this is very important. This is one of the most important things you're gonna ever do in this game, and it's silly enough that it's in your settings. So just make sure your settings are right for you, and don't listen to everyone that says put everything at low, because it actually does have an effect on your game. and hopefully this helps improve. And if you ever are having problems just seeing visibly, just try to put anti-aliasing on. It makes a big difference. That jagginess really will mess with your eyes, I'll tell you that much. With that, guys, let me know what you guys think. If you disagree with any of these graphic settings, let me know. I love trying new stuff out. I'm pretty sure this is as good as it gets. I don't know about like the extreme details, but this works perfectly for me. But I'm always willing to try stuff out, so let me know if you have any other suggestions, and I will see you guys in the next one.